The worst mistake of my life started with 5 words I was never meant to hear. I was standing alone in a garden trying to escape a crowded party when a woman's voice cut through the quiet night. "I wish you were mine." My whole body went cold. I knew that voice. It belonged to Victoria Mitchell, my best friend's mother. Let me back up a little. My name is Marcus. Derek and I have been friends since 8th grade, when he moved to our town. His dad, Philip, worked in investment banking, the kind of guy who wore suits that probably cost more than my rent. They lived in a big house in Westchester, the kind with a gate and a driveway that curves like in movies. From the first day I went over there, Victoria made me feel welcome. She always asked how school was, remembered what classes I liked, laughed at my dumb jokes. When we played video games in Derek's room, she would quietly knock and bring snacks. She knew I hated pickles, so she always made my sandwiches without them. She baked chocolate chip cookies that tasted better than anything from a store. Small things, but they stuck with me. Over time, their house felt like a second home. Fast forward to last spring, Derek got his acceptance letter to Stanford Law School. His parents reacted like he had just been elected president. Philip decided to throw a huge party at their estate to celebrate. Derek groaned when he told me about it. "My dad's inviting everyone he's ever made money with," he said. "It's going to be a zoo." He was right. The party was on a Saturday evening in May. I showed up around 7 in the nicest clothes I owned. A blue blazer my mom bought me for interviews and black pants I'd worn to 3 weddings. I brought a card with $200 inside. That was basically all my savings, but Derek was my best friend. He deserved something real. The estate looked insane. White tents spread over the back lawn, a jazz band playing near the pool, waiters in bow ties walking around with trays of food I could not even name. There had to be 100 people at least. Everyone smelled like expensive perfume or cologne. I felt like I had wandered into the wrong life. I found Derek near the main tent, surrounded by relatives and business people. He pulled me into the circle, introducing me to an aunt from Boston, a cousin who worked in tech, and some professor from his college. They all asked the same questions. "So, Marcus, what do you do?" "I'm a freelance graphic designer," I said again and again. "I do branding for small businesses." Most of them smiled politely, said, "That's nice," and then drifted away to talk to someone with a fancier title. After an hour, my cheeks hurt from fake smiles. My brain felt tired from small talk. I needed air. I grabbed a soda from a cooler and walked away from the tents, past the pool, toward the darker part of the yard. That is when I found the garden pavilion. It sat at the edge of the property, surrounded by hedges and flowers. String lights hung overhead, casting a soft, warm glow on the stone path and benches. It was quiet there. No jazz music, no loud laughter, just crickets and distant voices. I sat on a stone bench and pulled out my phone, pretending to scroll, just trying to reset my brain. That is when I heard footsteps on the gravel path. Then, that soft, tired voice. "I wish you were mine." I froze. For a second, I thought maybe I imagined it. Then I heard the faint clink of a wine glass. I stood up carefully and walked around the hedge. Victoria was standing there, maybe 10 feet away, holding a glass of red wine. She wore a dark red dress that fit her in a way that made it clear it was expensive. Her hair was pinned up in an elegant style. On the outside, she looked perfect, like she belonged to this world of money and polished smiles. But her face told a different story. Her eyes were distant, like her mind was somewhere else. She did not see me at first. I cleared my throat so I would not scare her. She still jumped, turning fast. For 1 second, her face was wide open. I could see real pain there. Then she tucked it away behind a practiced, polite smile. "Marcus," she said, smoothing her dress like she needed something to do with her hands. "I did not know anyone else was out here." "I needed some air," I said. "The party is pretty intense." Quote, she let out a small laugh, but there was no joy in it. Yes, that is one word for it. Something in her tone made me stay instead of going back to the tents. I stepped a little closer but kept a respectful distance. "Are you okay?" I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. It felt like she was deciding whether to let a wall down. Finally, she took a small sip of wine and asked, Do you know what it feels like to have everything you are supposed to want and still feel completely empty inside? The question hit me harder than I expected. Not really, I said honestly, but I am listening if you want to talk. She studied my face like she was checking if I was serious. Then she looked past me, out into the dark yard, and started talking. I have been married to Philip for 28 years, she said. We live in this beautiful house. We have a wonderful son. Philip's business is successful. From the outside, our life is perfect. She stared down at the wine in her glass. But inside the house, we barely talk. When we do, it is about schedules and money and dry cleaning. We have not had a real conversation in years. Her voice cracked on that last word. I did not try to fill the silence. I just waited. I used to be an architect, Victoria went on. Before I married Philip, I worked for a design firm in Manhattan. I loved it. I loved creating spaces that made people feel something. But when Philip's career took off, everyone said I should quit. Support his work. Raise Derek. Be the perfect wife for dinners and events. So you gave it up? I asked. I gave it up, she repeated softly. And somewhere along the way, I gave up everything else too. My dreams. My identity. Now I am Philip's wife. Derek's mother. The woman who hosts parties. Then she turned and looked straight at me. Earlier tonight, she said, I heard you on the phone out here. You were congratulating someone about a job offer. There was real warmth in your voice, real care. I cannot remember the last time someone spoke to me that way, like I was a person who mattered. My heart started beating faster. You do matter, I said. Do I? She asked. Because most days I feel invisible. Philip looks through me. Tonight he has spent more time talking about business with his guests than talking to me at our own son's celebration. Her hand shook a little. Before I could overthink it, I reached out and gently took her hand to steady it. She looked down at where our hands touched, then up at me. She did not pull away. When I said I wish you were mine, she said in a low voice, I did not mean it the way it sounds. I meant I wish I had someone who looked at me the way you look at the people you care about. Someone who sees me, someone who listens. The garden felt even quieter. The string lights hummed softly above us. That makes sense, I said. Wanting to be seen. We stood like that for a moment, our hands still touching, the sounds of the party distant and small. Then she blinked fast and stepped back, wiping at her eyes. I am sorry, she said. I should not be saying all of this to you. You are Derek's friend. This is not fair. Maybe it is not, I said, but I think you needed to say it to someone. I am glad you trusted me. She gave me a small, real smile. You are a good person, Marcus, she said. Derek is lucky to have you. Something in me pushed words out before I could stop them. It is not too late, I said. You are 49. You could still have another whole life. You could go back to architecture. Even in small ways. Volunteer work. Consulting. Just starting to remember who you are. She looked at me with a mix of fear and hope. I would not even know where to start, she admitted. Start by making one call tomorrow, I said. Call a museum, an architecture center, anyone. Tell them what you used to do. Tell them you want to help. See what happens. She was quiet for a while, thinking. Then she nodded slowly. Maybe I will, she said. We heard Derek calling my name from somewhere near the house. Victoria straightened her shoulders. I watched her put her mask back on. Perfect posture. Polite smile. We should go back, she said. People will wonder. She started to walk away. I called her name. Victoria. She turned. You are not invisible to me, I said. Her eyes filled with tears again. She gave me a look I could not fully read, then walked back toward the bright white tents. I stayed in the garden alone for a few minutes, my heart still racing. I had no idea that a simple moment of honesty in that quiet pavilion would change every part of my life. 4 days later, my phone buzzed while I was working on a logo. The message was from a number I did not know. Hi, Marcus. This is Victoria. I hope it is okay that I got your number from Derek. Would you meet me for coffee this week? There is something I would like to talk about. I knew right then that if I said yes, nothing would ever be simple again. I stared at that text from Victoria for a long time. "Hi, Marcus. This is Victoria. I hope it is okay that I got your number from Derek. Would you meet me for coffee this week? There is something I would like to talk about." Every part of me knew this could get complicated. She was my best friend's mother. She was married. She was 23 years older than me, but I could still see her standing in the garden, eyes full of quiet pain, telling me she felt invisible. I typed and deleted my reply 3 times. Then I finally sent it. "Sure, when works for you?" We agreed on Thursday morning at a place called the Daily Grind on the other side of town. Neutral ground, far from Westchester and the world she was used to. When I walked in, she was already there at a table in the corner. She looked different, not like the polished hostess from the party. She wore jeans, ankle boots, and a soft gray sweater. Her hair was down around her shoulders. She looked younger, softer, more like a real person and less like an idea. "Hi," she said, smiling in a way that reached her eyes this time. "Thank you for coming. I was not sure you would." "Of course," I said, sliding into the seat across from her. "What did you want to talk about?" She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup like she needed the warmth. "I took your advice," she said. "My advice?" "The day after the party," she went on, "I called the Metropolitan Architecture Collective downtown. I told them about my old job, about the projects I worked on years ago. They have a volunteer program for their exhibits and community spaces." Her face lit up. "They asked me to come in for an interview." "Victoria, that's amazing. When is it?" Quote. "I already had it," she said, a grin spreading across her face. "Yesterday. And they offered me a position. It is not paid, but I do not care. I just wanted to feel like an architect again." I felt this warm pride in my chest that surprised me. "I am really happy for you," I said. "You deserve that." We stayed there talking for over an hour. She told me about her old life at a design firm in Manhattan. The late nights, the tricky clients, the joy of seeing something she drew turn into a real building. I told her about my freelance work, the clients who changed their mind every 5 minutes, the jobs that fell through, the fear that I would never quite make it. We argued in a friendly way about design, too. She liked clean lines and natural light. I liked bold colors and graphic shapes. It felt easy with her. Not like talking to someone's mom, more like talking to someone who understood this part of me that most people never saw. When we finally stood up to leave, she looked almost nervous. "Can we do this again?" she asked. "I do not have many people to talk to about design anymore. Philip does not care about it. My friends do not really get it." "Yeah," I said, "of course. Just tell me when." After that, it became a pattern. Twice a week, we met at different cafes around the city. She told me about the collective's next showcase. I showed her my logos and website layouts. She asked real questions and gave real feedback. Not fake praise, not forced interest. Real, careful thought. I started to look forward to those meetings more than I wanted to admit. One morning in early June, she walked into the cafe looking upset. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a loose tie. Dark circles under her eyes. "What's wrong?" I asked as soon as she sat down. "The collective is designing a lounge area for the new showcase," she said, rubbing her forehead. "They want it to feel open and welcoming but still cozy. I spent 3 hours yesterday moving furniture, and nothing felt right, so now I am second-guessing everything. Maybe I forgot how to do this." "You did not forget," I said. "You just need fresh eyes." "Want me to take a look?" She blinked at me like she was not sure she heard me right. "You would do that?" she asked. "Sure," I said. "I have some flexibility this afternoon. I can come by, walk the space, see what you are working with." Her whole body seemed to relax. "Thank you," she said softly. I really could use the help. That afternoon, I met her at the collective. The building had high ceilings, old windows, and weird corners that made the space tricky. The lounge area was filled with couches, chairs, and lamps in random positions, like someone had dropped them from the ceiling. We spent 4 hours moving things around. sliding couches, angling chairs, testing sightlines. She would suggest an idea. I would tweak it. I would point out a problem. She would come up with a solution. We argued in a playful way about whether the reading chairs should face the windows or the art wall. "Angle that chair about 15 degrees to the left," she called out while I dragged a heavy armchair across the floor. I shifted it. Suddenly, the whole seating area clicked together, like everything finally made sense. "That's it?" she said, walking over to stand beside me. "That is exactly right." We stood there, shoulder to shoulder, looking at what we had made together. "We make a good team," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "We do." When I turned my head to look at her, I realized how close we were. I could smell her perfume, something light and floral. Our arms were almost touching. Her eyes met mine and stayed there for a second too long. "Marcus," she started. "What?" I asked, my voice coming out softer than I meant. She blinked, stepped back like she had just remembered something. "I should get home," she said quickly. "Philip will wonder where I am." Over the next few weeks, I helped her at the collective more and more. Sometimes early in the morning before visitors came, sometimes late in the day when the building was quiet. We adjusted lighting, tested layouts, picked materials together. We talked about life between design decisions. I told her about losing my dad. She told me about being terrified the day Derek was born, worried she would mess everything up. "You turned out well," she said one morning as we hung lights. "You think so?" I asked. "I know so," she said. "You are kind. You are talented. You care about people. Any parent would be proud of you." The words hit somewhere deep. I did not know how much I needed to hear something like that until she said it. The closer we worked, the stronger the pull between us felt. I tried to ignore it. She tried to ignore it. But it was there, in small things. The way her hand would brush mine when we reached for the same sample. The way she would light up when I walked into a room. The way my day always felt better after seeing her. Then the collective ran into a crisis. "The opening is Friday," she said on the phone one night, panic in her voice. "Our main installation just fell through. The architect got sick and had to back out. We need something strong in the center of the room or the whole show will feel thin." "What was it supposed to be?" I asked. "Something that shows the connection between traditional and modern design," she said. "Something that makes people stop and really look. I do not know where to get that in 3 days." My mind started racing. "What if it is not a physical object?" I said. "What if it is digital? I could design an installation with projected images on fabric panels. Moving patterns. Old designs blending into new ones. It could change slowly through the night." She went silent for a second. "Could you really do that?" she asked. "I can try," I said. The next 3 days were a blur of coffee and no sleep. I built patterns based on old buildings and modern shapes. I coded animations that flowed from one style to the other. Victoria came by my apartment twice with takeout and energy drinks, sitting beside me as I worked, asking questions, suggesting colors. Friday night came too fast. The installation hung in the center of the main room, 6 tall panels with moving lights and patterns spreading across them like living art. People stood beneath them, taking pictures, staring up. I stood near the back, watching the guests, watching the way they reacted, watching Victoria. She was glowing. She moved through the crowd talking to architects and board members. Her smile was real. Her hands moved as she explained ideas. For the first time, I saw her in her element, not as someone's wife or someone's mother, but as herself. Around 8, Philip arrived. I recognized him right away in his expensive suit and polished shoes. He walked the space like he was checking a box, shaking hands, nodding, making small talk. I watched him look down at his phone more than he looked at the art. Victoria went to greet him. They spoke for maybe 2 minutes. He kissed her cheek without really looking at her, and then left 20 minutes later. At his wife's biggest night in years, he stayed 20 minutes. An hour later, I found Victoria sitting on a bench in a side room, away from the crowd. Her eyes were red. She stared at the floor. "Hey," I said softly, sitting beside her. "The show is amazing. Everyone is talking about it." "Philip did not ask me a single question," she said, her voice shaking. Not about the layout, not about the pieces, not about your installation. He came because his business partners are here, and it looks good for him. Then he left for a conference call. She let out a bitter breath. I have known for a long time our marriage is basically over, she said. But seeing it that clearly tonight still hurts. I did not try to make excuses for him, I just listened. Why am I not enough for him to show up? She whispered. Why does he not see me? This is not about you not being enough, I said firmly. It is about him not knowing how to value what he has. You are brilliant. You are creative. You are kind. That is not your flaw. That is his failure. She leaned into me before I even thought about it. My arm went around her shoulders like it belonged there. She rested her head against my chest, and we sat like that while the room slowly emptied. Two people on a bench in a room full of art. Marcus, she said after a long silence. Yeah. I need to tell you something, and I am scared to say it out loud. My heart started pounding. What is it? I asked. She lifted her head and looked straight into my eyes. I am falling in love with you, she whispered. The world went quiet. The sounds from the main room faded. It was just us and those words. You cannot say that. I finally got out. I know, she said, tears filling her eyes. But it is true, and I am tired of pretending it is not. I should have stood up and walked away. She was married. She was Derek's mother. Every part of logic screamed at me to stop this before it went further, but my heart had already crossed that line. I am falling for you too, I admitted. I have been trying not to, but I am. She reached up and touched my face with her fingertips, soft and careful. What are we going to do? She asked. I do not know, I said honestly. She leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to move. I did not. When her lips touched mine, it felt wrong and right at the same time. Wrong on paper, right in every feeling I had been trying to bury. The kiss was soft, careful, full of all the things we were afraid to say. When we pulled apart, she was crying. This is impossible, she whispered. You know that. Probably, I said, but that does not make it less real. 2 weeks later, I was in a coffee shop working on a logo when Derek walked in and sat across from me with a smile. Hey, man, he said, you have been a ghost lately. I tried to smile back while my heart pounded against my ribs. Then he stirred his coffee and said, Can I ask you something weird? Have you noticed my mom acting strange lately? Derek's question hit me like a punch. Have you noticed my mom acting strange lately? We were sitting at a small table in a busy coffee shop near campus. I had my laptop open, pretending to work. He had just walked in, all casual, smiling like nothing in our lives was on fire. My heart was beating so loud I was sure he could hear it. Strange how? I asked, trying to sound relaxed. He stirred his coffee slowly, watching the spoon spin. She is never home, he said. She is always at that architecture collective or meeting with people about some consulting business. She dresses different now, too, younger. And she is always on her phone, smiling at messages she will not show anyone. I swallowed hard. Maybe she is just happy doing work she likes again, I said carefully. You know she used to love architecture. Maybe, Derek said, but he did not sound convinced. But there is more. Yesterday I needed to use her laptop. Mine was updating. When I opened it, some message popped up from an app I did not recognize. Before I could even read it, she ran across the room and slammed it shut like it was on fire. His eyes met mine. I think she might be seeing someone. My stomach twisted. What makes you say that? I asked, my voice tight. She acts like someone in a new relationship, he said quietly. The phone, the smiling, the secrets. And it is definitely not with my dad. They barely even look at each other anymore. I gripped my coffee cup so hard my hand hurt. I am sure there is some explanation, I said, hating how fake it sounded in my own ears. You should talk to her. Yeah, he muttered. I will. We talked about other things after that. Stanford, friends, sports. On the surface, it was a normal conversation. Inside, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. When I left the coffee shop, I texted Victoria right away. We need to talk. She agreed to meet that evening at a small park near the river. The sun was low when I got there. Kids were playing on the playground. Runners passed by with headphones in. Normal life everywhere. Victoria was sitting on a bench, staring at the water. She looked tired. "Derek talked to me today," I said, sitting beside her. "He thinks you might be seeing someone." Her shoulders tensed. "What did you say?" she asked. "I lied," I said. "I tried to calm him down." "But he is not stupid, Victoria. He knows something is going on." She closed her eyes for a second. "I have been trying to find the right time to talk to Philip," she said, "about separation. I cannot just blow everything up in one day. There is the house, the finances, his business, our families. Derek, if I move too fast, it will destroy everything." "So what does that mean?" I asked. She took a shaky breath. "It means I need time," she said. "Time to do this in a way that does not turn my whole life into a war zone." Frustration built up inside me. "So we just keep sneaking around forever?" I asked. "Hiding in stairwells and side rooms and cafes across town?" "Please do not be angry," she said, reaching for my hand. "This is not simple for me." "I am not just some extra piece in your life you can slide around until it fits," I said, pulling my hand back. "I am in this. I love you. I have risked a lot for you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I do love you," she said. "You know that." "Then why does it feel like everybody else gets to come first?" I asked. "Philip, his family, his image. Even now, when he has not treated you like a real partner for years, you are still trying to protect him." "That is not what I am doing," she said softly. "Then what are you doing?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "Maybe we should take a break," she whispered, "just until I can figure things out with Philip. It might be easier for everyone if we are not involved while I do this." The words hit me like a slap. "You want to pause us?" I asked. "Like we are some show you can turn off and on when it is convenient?" "It is not like that," she said quickly. "I am scared. I am trying to handle a marriage, a divorce, a son, a business, and this us. I do not want to lose you, but I do not know how to keep you without blowing up everything in my life." I stood up. My chest hurt. "Take your time," I said. "Figure out your life, but do not expect me to stand still forever while you decide if I am worth the risk." "That is not fair," she said, standing too. "Nothing about this is fair." "I know," I said. "That is the problem." I walked away. I did not look back, even though it felt like my whole heart was sitting on that bench with her. For 3 weeks, we did not talk. No texts, no calls, nothing. Every day hurt a little more. I threw myself into work. I took on extra projects. I stayed up until 2 or 3 in the morning designing websites and logos until my eyes burned. Anything to keep from thinking about her. One night, my younger brother, Tyler, called. "You sound terrible," he said. "What happened?" "It is over," I said, or paused, or something. I do not know. "The older woman you told me about?" he asked. "Yeah?" He was quiet for a moment. "Do you love her?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I do." "Does she love you?" he asked. "She says she does," I said. "But she is scared. There is her husband, her son, their whole world. She keeps thinking about what everyone will say." Tyler sighed. "Look," he said, "I get that this is intense, but you cannot make someone choose you. You can only decide how long you will wait while they try to decide." "I know," I said. "You deserve someone who picks you without needing weeks to think," he said gently. After we hung up, I stared at my phone in the dark. I wanted to text Victoria. I wanted to ask if she was okay. But pride and hurt held my fingers still. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello?" I said. "Hi, is this Marcus?" a woman asked. "My name is Sarah Chan from the Urban Arts Initiative. Victoria Mitchell gave me your name." My heart jumped. "She said you might be interested in helping design a community garden and gallery space in the Riverside neighborhood," Sarah went on. "She spoke very highly of you." Even when we were not speaking, she was still thinking about me. "Yes," I said. "I would be interested." We set a meeting for Thursday at their office downtown. Sarah explained the project. An outdoor gallery and garden in a low-income neighborhood that did not have much access to art or green space. The budget was tight, but the mission was big. Victoria's consulting firm is our biggest donor, Sarah added as we walked out of the conference room. She really cares about making art and design available to everyone, not just rich people. Over the next week, I worked on some first concepts. I played it safe. Clean paths. Simple planters. Basic art walls. Nothing too bold. Nothing that felt like my heart. The day of the presentation, I set my boards up in the conference room and tried to calm my nerves. Sarah and 2 board members came in and sat down. Then, the door opened again. Victoria walked in. My heart stopped. She froze when she saw me. For a second, we just stared at each other. Then she took a seat at the far end of the table. "You two know each other, right?" Sarah asked, looking between us. "Victoria is our main consulting partner on this." "We have met," Victoria said quietly. I did the presentation with my throat tight. I talked about flow and sightlines and budget. I pointed to the boards with hands that shook a little. I felt her eyes on me the whole time. When I finished, Sarah turned to Victoria. "What do you think?" she asked. Victoria studied the designs for a long moment. "They are good," she said finally. "Safe, functional, but this is not his best work." Her eyes met mine. "I have seen what he can do," she said. "He can create spaces that change how people feel, not just give them somewhere to sit. These designs are holding back." Her words stung because they were true. After the meeting, I caught her in the hallway. "Can we talk?" I asked. She glanced around at staff walking past. "Not here," she said. "Stairwell." We slipped into a nearby service stairwell that smelled like cleaning supplies. She stood 1 step above me. We were almost eye level. "You were right," I said, "about the designs. I have been holding back. I cannot focus." "I did not mean to embarrass you," she said quietly. "I just know what you are capable of." "You still pay that much attention?" I asked before I could stop myself. Tears shone in her eyes. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," she said. "What?" I asked, bracing myself. "I asked Philip for a separation," she said. My hand tightened on the railing. "When?" I asked. "Last week," she said. "I told him I have not been happy for years, that we live like roommates, not partners, that I cannot keep pretending." "What did he say?" I asked. She let out a bitter laugh. "He was not surprised," she said. "He told me he has been seeing someone in London for 5 years. A woman he met through his business. 5 years. He actually seemed relieved that I brought up separation first." Anger burned in my chest. "So all this time you were scared to blow up his life, and he already moved on," I said. She nodded, eyes wet. "I am not free yet," she said. "It will take months to settle everything. Lawyers, assets." Telling Derek, "But I wanted you to know that I am choosing this. I am choosing to be honest about my life, about what I want, and part of what I want is you." My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echo in the stairwell. "Victoria!" I started. Her phone rang in her purse, loud in the small space. She glanced at the screen, and her face went white. "It is Derek," she whispered. "He never calls during work hours." She answered with a shaky hello, then listened. I watched the color drain from her face. "Yes," she said. "I am still at the Initiative building." She looked at me with pure fear in her eyes. "I will be right down," she said, then hung up. "What is it?" I asked. "Derek is in the parking lot," she whispered. "He saw us walk into the stairwell together." She swallowed hard. "He knows something is happening between us." When Victoria said Derek was in the parking lot and had seen us walk into the stairwell together, my stomach dropped. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I have to go down there," she said, voice shaking. "He is my son." I wanted to follow, but I knew I could not. This was between them. Between mother and son. Between the life she had and the life she was trying to build. "I will give you space," I said. "Text me if you need anything." She nodded, then hurried down the stairs. I stayed there, gripping the railing, listening to the echo of her footsteps fade. I had never felt more helpless in my life. For 5 days, I did not hear from her. Nothing, No call, no text. The only message I got was a short one on the second day. I need time to deal with Derek. Please give me space. So I did. I poured myself into redesigning the garden gallery project like my life depended on it. I stopped playing it safe. I stopped worrying about what was too bold. I designed something that felt like the story of us. Curving paths that pulled people forward. Layers of plants and art that revealed themselves slowly as you walked. Quiet corners where you could sit and think. Every choice I made, I thought, what would Victoria say about this? On the sixth night, around 11, someone knocked on my apartment door. Hard. The kind of knock that makes your heart jump. I opened it and found Victoria standing there in sweatpants and an old jacket. Her hair was messy, and her eyes were red and swollen like she had been crying for hours. "Can I stay here tonight?" she asked in a small voice. "I cannot be alone." I stepped aside and pulled her into a hug before she even crossed the threshold. She broke down in my arms, crying so hard her whole body shook. I held her close, one hand on her back, the other on the back of her head, just trying to keep her from falling apart. "Derek will not talk to me," she said finally, voice rough from crying. "He found out about us. He said he saw the way we looked at each other." He put the pieces together. She sat on my couch, pulled her knees up, and showed me her phone with shaking hands. "He sent me one text," she said. "You should see it." I read the message. "I cannot believe you would do this to our family. You are selfish and disgusting for getting involved with my friend. You ruined everything I thought I knew about you." The words felt like a knife. "I am so sorry," I said, sitting beside her. "This is my fault. I should have stayed away. I should have never crossed that line." She turned to me fast, eyes fierce, even through the tears. "No," she said, "this is not only your fault. I made my choices. I chose to text you. I chose to meet you for coffee. I chose to fall in love with you. Those were my decisions. I will not let you carry all the blame." Quote, "We fell asleep on the couch with the TV off, her head on my chest, my arms around her. It was not romantic in that moment. It was two people holding on to each other so they did not drown. In the morning, weak sunlight leaked through my blinds. Victoria woke up, wiped her face, and sat up slowly. "I should go," she said. "There are lawyers to call, papers to sign, messages to answer, people to disappoint." "Stay a little longer," I said, "just for a few minutes." She looked at me with tired eyes. "This is going to get worse before it gets better, right?" she asked. "Probably," I said. "People will talk. Some will judge. Derek will need time. Philip's side will make this ugly if they want to." She studied my face. "Are you sure you want this?" she asked. "All of it. Not just the good parts. The bad parts, too. The gossip. The hard holidays. The awkward moments if Derek takes years to forgive us." "I am sure," I said without hesitation. "I want you. Not the easy version. The real one." Something in her shoulders relaxed. "I have spent 28 years being who everyone else wanted me to be," she said quietly. "A good wife, a good mother, a good hostess. I am done living like that. I want a life that is honest, even if it is messy." The next few months were exactly that, messy. Philip and Victoria started the legal process of separation and then divorce. It was slow and full of meetings and phone calls and forms. There were arguments about the house, the cars, the investments. There were polite, cold emails from lawyers. The story spread through their social circle. Some people sided with Philip. Some whispered behind Victoria's back. A few old friends stopped returning her calls. Derek stayed distant. He answered some of her texts with short replies. He ignored others completely. He did not speak to me at all. The only thing that made sense during that time was the community garden gallery project. I poured my soul into it. I redesigned everything from the ground up. Raised garden beds mixed with art pedestals. Murals that wrapped around corners. Walkways that made people feel like they were moving through a story instead of just a park. Victoria came to every planning meeting. She sat at the table with the board, defending my choices when people got nervous about risk. She fought for bolder colors, for deeper plant beds, for pieces that spoke to the neighborhood instead of just to donors. One evening, close to the opening, we stood in the almost finished space. The winter plants were in place. Lights were strung. The art pieces were being installed. "Look at this," she said softly, turning in a slow circle. "Look at what we built." She was not talking about just the garden. I knew that. "We made something real," I said. "Something that matters." The official opening was on a cold Saturday afternoon. The Riverside neighborhood showed up in force. Families in heavy coats, kids running between the beds, elderly residents leaning on canes, smiling at the art. I stood near the entrance, watching people move through the space, watching them stop and sit, watching them take pictures of each other in front of murals, listening to them say things like, "I cannot believe this is in our neighborhood now." That was when I saw him, Derek. He stood near the back, hands in his pockets, looking around with an unreadable expression. My heart started racing. I went to find Victoria. She was near one of the sculptures, talking to a reporter. When she saw my face, she stepped aside. "What is wrong?" she asked. "Derek is here," I said quietly. Her eyes filled with fear and hope at the same time. "Where?" she whispered. I nodded toward the back. She saw him and froze for half a second. Then she started walking toward him, slow and careful. I stayed where I was, giving them space. They talked for a long time. I could not hear what they said over the noise of the crowd, but I saw Derek look down a lot. I saw Victoria crying. I saw him wipe his eyes once with the back of his hand. At one point, he held up his hand when she stepped closer. My chest tightened. Then, a moment later, he let her hug him. It was quick and awkward, but it was something. When it was over, and he left, she came to find me. Her cheeks were wet, but she was smiling in this fragile way. "He came," she said, sitting beside me on one of the benches we had installed. "He actually came." "What did he say?" I asked. "He said he is still hurt," she said. "He is angry. He does not understand everything. But he can see I am happier than I have been in a long time. He said the gallery is beautiful. He said he can tell it came from people who care." She wiped her eyes. "He is not ready to have dinner with us," she said, "but he is willing to talk to me again, slowly." "That is a start," I said. Over the next months, life shifted, little by little. Derek called his mother once a week. At first, it was short and stiff. Then it became more normal. They talked about his classes, her work, the projects at the gallery. Philip and Victoria's divorce was finalized in April. She got enough to be stable and to start her consulting firm fully. They agreed to be fair instead of cruel. It surprised everyone, including them. By May, Victoria and I were looking at brownstones together. We found a small place with big windows and wood floors in a neighborhood halfway between her clients and my usual jobs. As we signed the lease at the real estate office, she squeezed my hand. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "Living together means there is no going back. No pretending we are just colleagues or friends." "I am sure," I said. She smiled, eyes shining. "I am more sure about this than I have been about anything in years," she said. We moved in June. The first week felt strange. 2 toothbrushes by the sink, 2 coffee mugs on the counter, her sketchbooks next to my laptop, our lives side by side. On the second week, Derek came over for dinner. He stood in the doorway for a second, taking in the living room, the art on the walls, the stack of design books on the coffee table. "I like the place," he said carefully. "Thank you," Victoria replied. Dinner was awkward at first. Long pauses, safe topics. But as the night went on, we relaxed a little. We joked about a bad movie on TV. We talked about food. Derek asked me a few questions about the garden project. When he left, he hugged his mom. Then he turned to me. "I am not ready to pretend everything is fine," he said. "But I am trying." "That is all I can ask," I said. On the 1-year anniversary of the night in the garden pavilion, I drove Victoria back to the old estate. The house was empty now. The property was in the process of being sold, but we still had access. We walked the same path we had walked that night. The string lights in the pavilion were off, but the shape of that moment still hung in the air. "A year ago, you said something out here," I said. "You said you wished I was yours." She smiled softly. "I was not supposed to say it out loud," she said. "But I am glad I did." I took a breath, feeling my heart slam against my ribs. Then I dropped to one knee, right there on the stone path, the same place I once stood trying to comfort a woman who felt invisible. Victoria covered her mouth with both hands. "Marcus," she whispered. I pulled a small ring box from my pocket and opened it. "I know this has not been an easy road," I said. "We have hurt people. We have been judged. We lost things along the way. But we also built something honest. Something real. I love you, Victoria. Will you marry me?" She started crying, shaking her head like she could not believe this was real. "Yes," she said through tears. "Yes, absolutely yes." She pulled me up and kissed me. It felt like every hard night and every quiet morning and every risk we took had all led to that one moment. We got married 3 months later in the garden gallery we designed together. Tyler was my best man. He made a speech that had everyone laughing. Derek stood in the front row, eyes shining, finally understanding that his mother's happiness did not erase his past, it just gave her a future. Someone showed me a card later that Philip had sent. It said he hoped we would both find what we were looking for. It was strange, but also a kind of peace. When I stood there with Victoria's hand in mine, looking at the space we built and the people who stayed, I realized something important. We had given up the easy story, the one where everything looks perfect from the outside. Instead, we chose the hard story, the honest one. We proved it is never too late to stop living for other people's expectations. Never too late to be seen. Never too late to say, "I wish you were mine," and then have the courage to build a life where that wish comes true.